weapons, soft caps, hard caps, many different things that a lot of people doesn't agree on, but that I am going to explain to you in this video. I have already made one of this. I did that using information that I had in my preview on the game. I did that video using footage that I have lying around there, using different Elden Ring calculators. We're going to be doing something very similar to that. Although this is now the release kind of video. So all of this information you can know now for sure, that there's no assumptions, and all of these mechanics that I'm going to show you, I am going to explain them to you as I use the in-game mechanics that you are going to see right here on the game. That said, before we do anything else, I think that I need to do something. I need to show you where the blacksmith is, because that is going to be the quintessential part of everything on what are we going to discuss in this video. Most of everything is going to be based on the blacksmith. So, to get to the blacksmith, you are going to want to go to the Vestige of Light Agatha right here. Now this is where I want to be very clear. There is a shortcut right here. I have already unlocked these shortcuts. For you to have access to this thing, like I said, I want to be crystal clear about this, because I know a lot of people is going to be annoyed you didn't show how to unlock the shortcut. Because this video is about showing you where the blacksmith is. This is something that you are going to get access through natural progression. You cannot miss this. This is a story progression, this shortcut that you have right here. You're not going to be able to miss it. You're not going to be able to progress in the game if you don't get here first. What is missable, actually, is the blacksmith. So once you are right here, the blacksmith is down there. The natural game progression to continue is going to be going through that path right there. Or there, I can't really remember very well. But the blacksmith is just down here. These enemies are going to have the key to the blacksmith, so you have to kill them. Once you have gotten the key to the blacksmith, he is going to be here. You just talk to him and he's going to head over back to the sanctuary thing. He's going to open this thing, so I'll meet you guys right there. Once you have rescued the blacksmith, we can actually start talking about the weapons. This is the Skybridge Vestige. You head over here and the blacksmith is going to be right here. There's also rune crafting. We'll talk about that a little bit later. I'll have a link in the video description for that, on how is that going to work and the runes that you are going to need. But let's just talk about the materials that you are going to have, the different kind of weapons that you are going to have, and how this works. The basics of everything, much like Dark Souls and the Souls-likes. If you have a weapon that you like, even though that it is a basic weapon, like this one for example, the Old Monster Latch Sword, this is just a basic weapon. This is not a boss weapon, this is not a special weapon, and if you like this one, you can use it throughout the entirety of the game. There is no tier on good, rare, legendary, things like that. Every weapon that you see in this game, just try them on, see which one do you like, see which one fits your playstyle, and which one of them all are you going to use. And that is going to be the one that's naturally going to be your main weapon throughout the playthrough. That said, I want to stress that out as much as possible. It doesn't really matter if it's the weapon of a starting class. If you like the weapon of your starting class, you can use it. The main thing that we're going to be focusing right here to increase the damage of the weapons, it's going to be scaling. We'll talk about this a little bit later on. That said, materials that you are going to need to upgrade your weapons. There's going to be mainly two types of different weapons that are going to use different materials. Thankfully enough, it is a little bit more straightforward, Lords of the Fallen. So as you can see, we have the basic materials. It actually took me quite a while to understand how this works. I was angry on the game telling me that I didn't have the materials, but the game didn't tell me what kind of material that I need to upgrade a weapon. But yeah, everything is used right here. You have the basic materials, you have this next tier of materials, and then you have this. These three guys, they are going to allow you to increase basic weapons to +9 and +4, depending on what type of weapon do you have. This is the final tier. There's only like 3 or 4 of these things. I have only found like 3 or 4 of these things in this game. So you can only have like 3 or 4 maxed out weapons, although it doesn't really matter. The jump in damage that you are going to have, at least for the basic weapons, is not going to be that substantial. When it comes to boss weapons, that's actually going to be quite a lot. So for basic weapons, you have 10 tiers. You can get to upgrade your weapons with the material that you see right here. So as you can see, I need 2 materials of this guy to upgrade this thing. This is the materials that are required right here. If I continue upgrade, it's going to require 4 of these guys back again. Now when I reach to level 3, I need to be using this next set of materials. And the game is always going to tell you right here what kind of materials are you going to need. Although when it comes to boss weapons, the weapons that you are going to acquire and use from boss souls or boss vigor or visages or whatever the game likes to call them, they are going to use the very same material, but they are going to cost more. So it doesn't diverge into different kind of like weapon materials for like in Dark Souls, like the dragon shards and crazy things like that. The materials are always going to be the same ones that you see right here. Now let's talk about scaling. The scaling is going to be dependent on the weapon. Like I said, the attributes, strength, agility, radiance, and inferno, they do nothing by themselves. They do not increase the damage potential of a weapon just because it is a stat that naturally thinking that is going to increase your stat. It's all dependent on the scaling that you have on your weapons. And many of the weapons are actually going to be quite different on what they scale and what they have. Like for example, I have this one right here, which is Bloodlust. It's a short sword, and it might seem like a weapon that is going to be for a agile character, but as you can see, this one also scales very good with Inferno. So this weapon is ideal for a character that is going to be a quality between agility and Inferno. You also have weapons that have base scaling for just one main stat. Like this one, it might seem this is a huge weapon. Let me show it to you real fast. If you take a look at this thing, you might say, well, that is a strength weapon. I'm going to increase my damage by placing points into strength if I want to use that huge weapon. It really isn't, because as you can see, this one is an Inferno scaling weapon, and the scaling that I have in strength, it's going to be nothing. So I don't get nothing in return by placing points in strength to increase the damage potential and capabilities of this weapon. Now let's talk about soft caps, hard caps, and caps. I know again that many people perceive them differently. There's people that consider the hard cap to be the second threshold of the soft cap. I don't consider it to be like that. It just doesn't sound right in my mind just to say to you, this is soft cap number 1 and say soft cap number 2. We're going to manage it as soft cap, hard cap, and finally the cap. So the soft caps, through my when I have moved the stats and I have worked on the respect and the different stats and different scaling weapons, again it's going to be dependent on the weapon, but I've encountered that the first soft cap that you have for main damage stats, it's going to be 40 to 50. So if you're going to be a purely based, like for example an Inferno warrior, you're going to have 40 to 50 points at least at the very minimum when it comes to the mid game, for example, for this weapon. And then you're going to have a hard cap at 75. Beyond 75, your returns on damage that you are going to receive are going to be minor, and I mean minor. You barely get anything in return for increasing points beyond 75. So once you have reached, like for example, let's say that this is my main weapon and I have already reached my 75, I do not want to go beyond that, so I want to be placing points into endurance or vitality, or maybe if I'm going to be a quality build, I'm going to be using a quality weapon that actually has scaling on strength or agility, like the example that we have previously on the Bloodlust. Bloodlust, which is an agility weapon that scales with Inferno, and agility, a nice idea for a quality build is just to keep them both at 40, 40, 40, 40 Inferno, 40 agility, and that is how you're going to get the most out of this weapon. Just to have in mind that we have a hard cap, where we have the soft cap beyond 50, 40 to 50, and then we have the hard cap at 75. That said, we also have socketing runes. To socket runes, you are going to need specific item materials. I am going to leave them in the video description so you can find them for yourselves, because they are found in late game areas that I do not want to spoil for you. I do not want to spoil those late game areas for you. Just to have in mind that you have socketing. Once you have unlocked the socketing, you can purchase the runes with this guy, and they are just a game changer, and they rig your character so very much. So for example, we have this one right here that it says that if you socket this rune into a weapon, is going to increase the strength scaling. This one increases the agility attribute scaling but reduces the strength attribute scaling. This one, for example, increases the agility scaling. This one increases the strength attribute scaling and reduces the agility attribute scaling. The one that reduces, it's the one that you're going to get most damage in return, but this one's, for example, this one for function well for quality builds because they do not diminish the amount of returns that you are going to get. Now, it is very important to note, I want to be crystal clear about this because this might actually going to confuse people. This is the highest rune scaling that I have for this weapon, that is Radiance, a Radiance based weapon. So as you can see right here, increases the Radiance attribute scaling, reduces the Inferno attribute scaling. I don't care about that Inferno, so that is what I want to have in that weapon. And this is indeed my main weapon. As you can see, it has A scaling in Radiance, so it's such a beautiful, strong, powerful weapon for a mono stat builds. But the scaling that I have in my weapon, as you can see right here, it's a total attack power of 307. If I socket my runes right here, it might be a little confusing because they are going to do nothing for you. So if we have the socketed gems, as you can see, the weapon does have the sockets right there, the weapons are right there, and the attack power, it's not displaying, it's still the attack power for 307. The scaling is not increasing. That is something that I don't like about this game. The game should tell you the raw numbers of the returns that we are getting right here. But let me tell you, at least for the scaling in combination in my testing, I was doing 300 damage by using basic attacks without the runes slotted, and then I slotted the runes and increased to 500 per hits. So even if it is not displaying the runes right here, you are still going to get the returns right there. And most important than that, they stack. So when I slotted the first gem, I was getting 302 damage, and then I slotted the second gem and I was getting 400, and then I slotted the other gem and I was getting 500 damage. So yes, they do stack, and that is amazing because you can deal filthy amounts of damage with these things. And that is basically everything that you need to know about a weapon scaling, stats, soft caps, and rune crafting. If you like the content, so like and never super appreciate it. No, I told you today that you're a gorgeous and beautiful person. You're indeed a gorgeous and beautiful person. I will be seeing you goddamn gorgeous and beautiful people in the next one. Have a beautiful day and goodbye.